Hey crew, I've got the key to this 25 Ram 1500 RHO, and today we're going to see what it's like to live with, starting with remote start. Good morning, neighbors. Now, as you could hear, or rather not hear, the startup of the RHO's twin-turbo inline-6 is not nearly as rambunctious as the outgoing TRX's supercharged V8, and that's great for neighborly relations. No one should be too disturbed if you've got to start the truck up early in the morning for commutes or you're coming home late at night. Now for spacing in my driveway, which is 16 feet wide by 19.5 feet long, this thing is a behemoth. And I've got it parked right there at the edge, sitting next to the Li Auto Mega, a Chinese van that both my wife and I are reviewing. If you want to check out her content, it's at Mobile Mama on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. That one's also parked very close to the edge, and even with both these vehicles slammed to the fringes of my driveway, there's still only a little bit of room to walk between them. It does help that both vehicles have power folding door mirrors when they're locked, but we couldn't wheel a wagon or double stroller through for our kiddos. The nose of the RHO is hovering over the gutter at the front of my driveway, and that does mean that the truck will clear in front of the garage door, but there's not enough room for me to squeeze in front of the hedge on the path to my front door. When first hopping in with the key fob on me, if I put my hand on either of the front two door handles, that will unlock all four doors, and I'll wait until I'm in a parking lot sitting next to someone else to show you the door opening space, but for now that's one defined notch, and I cannot go two without touching the Mega. So I've got to squeeze through here, and to make it even harder, this truck doesn't have equipped running boards or rock sliders with steps on them. You can option it on, it's just not here. And so even for me at 6 feet tall, the journey up into this cab is a bit arduous. I got to sling the leg up, then I go for the grab handle, I'm glad that's there, and pull myself up and in. Hey cabin crew, thanks for joining for this day in the life in the 25 Ram 1500 RHO. In this video, I want to see if the smaller engined, lower output RHO is easier to live with than the old TRX. Though the truck is on, I do need to put my foot on the brake and hit the start-stop button to take over control and actually be able to drive it. I'm gonna throw on my seatbelt here. And before I get rolling, let me show you where I would stick the items I bring with me every day. Like my iPhone 15 Pro, which is sitting on one of the two wireless charging pads. In the top of this console, I've got a granola bar. In the bottom, I'm storing my GoPro accessory case, and there's room for like 10 more of those. In the door pocket, I did have space for my 32-ounce water bottle. And so, surprise, surprise, giant truck has lots of room for anything you want to bring with you. Now, pulling back on the gear selector, the parking brake has been released. I'm going to roll on forward and not worry about the gutter or clearance. This is a massive off-road oriented pickup truck. We are good. But are we going to clear the trash cans here on trash day? And it does look like we are. Parking sensors are getting upset, but we are fine. Starting off this drive with a turning radius test, because I realized I'm going in the wrong direction for a coffee shop I had in mind, and that gives me a chance to listen to the turn signal sound, which is not the most pleasing tone, and it's pretty loud. What about the turning radius? Wheel is fully turned here, and are we gonna get it? Oh yeah, it was close, but the RHO can pivot around with 3 lanes. That's pretty good, honestly, for a full-size pickup truck, especially one on 33-inch all-terrain tires. Now, as I begin my day in the RHO, today's pretty mild, but normally I will have the seat heaters on or the seat ventilation, because this truck has the optional level 1 equipment group, and almost all the time I've got the steering wheel heating on, and I love that it has 3 different stages so I can have it on the lowest level. I also, all the time, have the massage going, and it's got quite a few options, and they're all pretty decent. The waterfall especially works its way up your legs, up your back, and just gets you in the right mood for the day. Meandering about town with this 540 horsepower twin-turbo inline 6-cylinder working through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Think about how this powertrain is utilized. I'm just in the auto drive mode. You can access those by hitting the RHO button, and it's very easy to build up the pace. No real lag, it just gets moving, but the throttle sensitivity isn't overzealous, and you don't really feel those gear changes, so it's pretty smooth powertrain-wise. In terms of the ride, even when you don't think you're looking at a road that's that busy, because it's got that solid rear axle and this off-road oriented suspension, which is on the firmer side so it can absorb the impacts off-road, you are jostling about in your seat, and it's not just the massage this time. But unlike the TRX, the ride seems to be the most excitable thing here, because the inline six is not making much ruckus here, at least at partial throttle. And that reminds me of the last time I was in the TRX and I actually got pulled over because it was so loud. I actually wasn't going fast, but the officer thought I was. He later found out I wasn't, and he was fine with it. But he thought I was because it's just so much noise. It's the supercharger whine, it's the Hemi V8 rumble. This is much more modest. It's not going to get too much attention from the wrong people. The seats are excellent as well. I was a bit spoiled by the comfort level of the Li Auto Mega, but these, for a truck, are quite good. Well padded, a little on the firm side though, with good supports on the sides, lots of adjustability here to the seat. And beyond simply just adjusting the seat, I can also pull on this lever and manually tilt or telescope the steering column. And I can even adjust the position of the pedals. I can send them in if I had really long legs, or in my case, I can pull them out because though I have a long torso, and headroom is not a problem here in the RHO, my legs aren't that long, so I can get all the different levels of adjustment. I've got a perfect driving position for my body type. So the around town ability is a bit of a mixed experience. We've got that choppier ride, you have that reserved powertrain note, the robust but accessible power delivery, comfortable seats. The massage did time out. That's not okay though. You turn off when I tell you to turn off massage. And what else? Let's see. The RHO factor, the width. Is it easy to stay in your lane? Well, yeah. I mean, I find the steering to be pretty responsive. It doesn't require a lot of overcorrection to stay straight, but it does respond well as you add input. So despite the large dimensions, as long as you're paying attention, you will stay in your lane. Here in America. In Europe, this would be a complete pain in the butt. And even if you do lose focus for half a second and you try to depart your lane, the lane keep assist system can be turned on and will bring you back in. It's not going to then center you though like a highway driving system, but it will be enough that you're not going to just drive into the car next to you. But let's say someone does try to drive into you because they don't have lane keep assist. You're going to use your horn and they're going to hear, ooh, that's fitting for this truck. It looks brash. And it sounds that way too. You know, that width does pose a problem in some situations though. Like in any other vehicle, I would just scoot down the right side of that lane and make my turn. Not in the RHO. Not unless I want to do some damage with the door mirrors. But again, the brashness comes from the look, not really, oh, and the speed, not the sound though. This doesn't have the grunt of a big old manly performance truck. It sounds like a sports car. And it goes like one. But seriously, am I driving an M3? Is this the Twilight Zone? I think I'll wait to figure that out until after I've had my coffee. So I'm gonna pop in here to Roosevelt Coffee. That does mean I need to park this barge, so I will attempt to maneuver into this space right here, backing in, of course. So let me pull on over, then click it forward into reverse. That will bring up some high-res cameras and trajectory lines. Then I will negotiate back into this space. Lord knows I don't want to touch the cam in here. I am going to need to make a small adjustment, so pull on forward, then pull it back, and using the bird's eye view to monitor how well I'm staying in the center of the lanes. Parking sensors will tell me that I'm getting close to that pole, but not touching. We're good. Not the easiest of parking jobs, but manageable. All right, got my coffee, and oh, it was a GT4. Very nice. Anyway, let's see how the RHO fills out a parking space. I've parked this, I I don't want to brag, but pretty darn well here. It's just touching the lines on both sides. So it's going to require that careful parking job to make sure you're not bleeding over into someone else's space. It's like everyone is cleared out away from the truck. What's going on? I can't even show that door opening space. But let's just pretend, all right? Say the other car starts there. I really can only go to that first notch, and then I'm using that leverage point of the handle to get in. And as for the cup holders, ooh, they've got these rubberized holds, so that's not going anywhere, and it's just high enough that I can pick it back up for a sip. Delightful. Decaf, of course, because much like the RHO, my coffee has been neutered a bit. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I want a you. 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 So bad.
What is happening? I'm gonna exit. Can you cut me off over here?
All right, get out. I literally didn't think through that at all. I was just like, what song should I sing? This is gonna work, right? It isn't. She's still in the car with me, folks, 'cause we're married. Hey, mobile mama.
Hi.
Welcome to the Ram RHO, which you drove all day yesterday
to
and from San Diego.
Yes.
And what did you think of it?
I really liked driving it.
Yeah?
I know you were like, oh, it's so big, you need to be very careful.
Well, I was more worried about the parking. That's all I said, is just worry about the parking.
I did park away from people. It was a very busy lot, but I was fine. It does take up the entire lane.
Yeah.
I will say the turning radius was a struggle for me.
Really? I found for this size truck, you're like, oh, everyone expects that for trucks. I found the turning radius to be actually quite good for this segment.
Well, maybe
of
it was
truck.
just my turn. I was stressed. It was like a high traffic area, and I was like, I got a U-turn. And then it was like, oops, I need to back up. This is a mistake.
Well, I mean, to be clear, like, it is a wide turning vehicle, but it's just, it's good for the segment. I asked about the interior, and you didn't answer me because I was talking about other things.
I did talk about the screen.
Yeah.
This part feels, I don't like this. I don't like the high gloss.
There's also lots of scratchy plastic down low.
But everything else feels nice. I like, is this real carbon fiber?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This
You got
real
some carbon fiber. You got some suede and leather.
Leather.
I feel like all the parts you actually touch are nice.
Yeah.
And then the other parts, they're like, oh, plastic's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that this is $84,000 for the performance, for the usability, for the interior materials.
I was shocked.
I think it's quite good. She was shocked, everyone.
I thought it would be more.
I did also think it would be more as well. I do have a little bit of a niggle with the infotainment. So this is the UConnect 5 software on this bigger screen because this has the level 1 equipment group, which is like 10 grand. Worth it. It delays a few times on things. I mean,
I will say I struggled to find the rear climate. Where is it?
Rear.
Could not find it.
Oh, there's rear.
Nope. Could not find it.
Okay.
Good luck.
So yeah, finding some things could be difficult. I'll give you that. I do like the physical controls for things, like all the buttons and stuff. I'm fine with it. They integrated it well, and it's a redundancy, cuts down on distraction. All right, we're both in favor of the interior. The few critiques we have are ameliorated by the fact that it's not that expensive for what you're getting.
Right.
And on your drive yesterday, you had the cabin filled with 3 car seats across, your mom in the front passenger seat. At any point in time, did you have issues with visibility, seeing out of it?
Nothing, because we have the digital rearview mirror, and the mirrors were large. Everything was fine.
Yeah, and I like the wide angle of the upper right portion of the door mirror. It's great for trailering, but it's also just good for seeing around the dimensions of this truck.
And a pro, the kids had room. They didn't complain. No one was saying like, oh, I'm squished. Or, well, obviously they're in car seats, but they weren't touching each other and bothering each other. They had enough space. The one issue we did have was getting up and in. There's no side step.
That's what I was saying. Like, you have to, unless you're all like 6'5", you're gonna need a running board, and your kids aren't gonna start that big. So you need a running board, and if you have that, or the rock sliders that have little ridges in the steps, then you're gonna be able to use the grab handles and it's gonna be fine. But without that, it's a leap for anyone who's not giant. And I will install those car seats later so we can see visually what it looks like. But for now, let's pop into Urban Plates and get some food.
Okay, that's all we ever do.
Well, yeah, we like to eat. It's fine.
Miles always has to back in between 2 cars. Do you park away from cars in an open spot, or do you park sandwiched between two cars?
Sandwiched, obviously. Because it's safer to know your enemies. I know these people are here around me. If someone pulls in, then they just leave. They're both backed in, so they're both just going to exit like this.
Boy. And they're going to open their door and have a hard time getting in.
The enemy you know is better than the enemy you don't. Someone could pull in if I went to an open space and then just whack the door.
Great debate. I disagree.
Let me know in the comments. My side, Mobile Mama's side. Let's go get food. Oh, it's so bright. Get my sunglasses out of the sunglass storage. That's what I love about trucks. Dedicated, sealed up, protected for the lens sake, sunglass storage. Had to take our food to go. But while we're back here, talk me through the accommodations, Mobile Mama.
You'll get lots of space, Bob.
So much space.
Lots of headroom.
Robert. I don't know, Bob and Rob. Bob and Rob. Those are the two commentators.
Okay, I've got nice suede on the door. You have heated and ventilated seats.
Oh, yes.
And
with that level
vents,
1 group.
Yes.
It's not standard. But
and USBs. 4.
USBs, AC. Yeah, I think the biggest win is the space, to your point, but the materials are...
Is there storage underneath the seats? I'm guessing there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You can do all the truck stuff. And these seats, like the front, are pretty comfortable as well. And I've got headroom here at 6 feet.
Oh, the whole thing.
Ooh, boy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's actually...
more suede.
It's like quite a nice console here.
Okay.
The cup holders could be larger.
What do you put here?
A sheet of paper or two. Yeah, so, I mean, whether you've got car seats or bigger people, back seats are perfect. Shall we dine, madame?
Yes, we shall.
This is just a side of chicken. For you?
Get your protein in.
Protein. We told you car seats would fit, but I get it. Seeing is believing. So here they are installed, and with the greater challenge of putting the rear-facing car seat behind my driver's seat when normally it'd be on this side, here Talia is going to have so much legroom, and in between the seats, as we said, either you could put another car seat or a full-size adult, and I've got room to stretch out. What about in this seat? Alley-oop. Oh, yeah. The RHO is 100% family approved. All right, today, my neighbor Josh and I are going to put the truck's utility to the test. I've got a project I've been pushing off for the girls for a long time, and Josh has his own projects in mind. So we're headed to Ganal Lumber. So I know I am doing a rock wall for my kiddos because they love climbing, and it's a project I can manage with my time and my talents. Josh is a man of many more talents, and so he is endeavoring to... Tell us what you're doing.
I'm going to be doing 2 projects. One is building a mantle for the fireplace, and then I'm building an extension on top of the wall for decoration and privacy for my back walls. Yeah.
My project just feels so much more humble. And Josh has like all the cool woodworking gear too.
It's true.
Because like, don't you have an Etsy store and you do woodworking projects?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's an idea that I want to get off the ground. I just need to have time to build projects out to sell on Etsy.
Time's a funny thing, huh?
Right.
Like, there's never enough of it to do all the things we want to do. Josh also started a baking enterprise.
Yeah.
He made bread for me for a bit, and then for like half of your company.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I don't have any of my weekends left, so I don't want to do this anymore. But his bread was delicious.
Yeah.
I go on record saying I would have bought his bread until he stopped making it.
Yeah, technically you did do that.
I did.
Right?
I bought it until he stopped, and that X3 almost ran into the rim. We made it to Ganal Lumber. Look at this place.
It's huge.
Cathedral for woodworking. This is like the grown-up candy store specifically for wood. I'm gonna get lost in here. Where's Josh? Oh gosh, I already am lost. All right, thanks to Josh's help and a guy who just drives around in a forklift answering questions before pulling out the wood you need, I've discovered the 2x4s. I need 4 of these 8-foot 2x4s. These are in cedar, and I want that cedar because it's going to be more weather resistant. The cedar is going to be the framing for the 4x8-foot sheet of plywood that I will be attaching to it. 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. Found it. 8x4 foot, 3/4 inch pre-sanded plywood. This will be perfect for the foundation. Might give it another sanding job just to make sure it's perfectly smooth for the little kiddo's hands. These are one of the aforementioned forklifts that just run around and help people, but I want to be like these guys here, drive the truck through and just pick up what we need. I'm going in. By far one of the coolest things I have ever done. Driving a truck in a drive-through lumber yard? All right, let's get the tailgate down and start the refolding of the tonneau cover. Squeeze these pieces in together and up, and then roll. I need to get up there, so kicking down the bed step and continuing the job. Now to extract the wood, slide it into the truck. Okay, up goes the tailgate.
Oh, that was smooth.
It's yeah, power operated, so it lifts right up. Makes it easy. All right, let's roll this back over. Be as aero efficient as possible. Keep that wood down. This is a segment of car culture I know nothing about, but can fully appreciate.
It was really cool. Really cool.
Now while we sit in traffic on our drive home, I was just sitting here going, I'm gonna go through the camera angles and find the bed cam to monitor our lumber. And it doesn't exist. There's no bed cam here. I can see behind the truck, I can see in front of the truck, I just can't see what's in the bed. I can add on an auxiliary camera myself to just focus on the bed, but it should be here as standard. The only way I can therefore monitor the lumber now is through the digital rear view mirror. Well, it definitely won't be done today, but I need to make some progress on this rock wall. Smooth as silk. Now on to framing. Okay, now I just need to cut up this final 2x4 to be the horizontal supports between these uprights. So I'm busting out the heavy-duty machinery, the miter saw. All right, framing is done. Looks pretty good. And shout out to Josh, because he let me borrow his miter saw, which is so cool. I think I want one now. Unnecessary. Anyway, the climbing wall is going to be stored outside, so I will need to weatherproof the cedar and the backside of the plywood. That's next. Now I've flipped it back over to the front, and I'm moving on to primer. To give the surface of the climbing wall some grip, I found a textured finish, which I will now apply. Now that it's dried, I need to measure out the grid for me to place the hand and footholds. I'm measuring 4 inches from each edge, and we'll put a hole every 8 inches. And now we drill. First, for the handles, I'm going to space out like this on the left-hand side. Now I am upgrading my drill bit for the rest of the grid. The grid is finished, but when I lifted up the board to hammer in the T-screws for the holes to go into, I did notice that the handle screws are pointing out quite a ways, and I don't want anyone's hands to get poked, so I'm going to use the angle grinder to file those down. Still a little tacky, so I'm gonna wait until it fully dries to get the molds on. I think it is finally dry enough so I can start putting on the molds. And that about does it for the big modulars. Now I'm gonna fill in some gaps with these screw-on holes. And I'm done. I can't wait to show this to the girls. Come on, come on. Let's go climb. You guys waste no time. We've got a couple climbers here, that's for sure. Oh, and what's cool about this design is that as the girls learn the routes and want something different, I can move the pieces around. 3, 2, 1, jump. Woo! Good jump. You got to the top, Gugas. Good job. And for security, I did anchor it to the wall so it's not gonna tip over. Today we're headed off-road. Not really. I've actually done a lot of off-roading already in the RHO during my first drive of this truck. So if you wanna see that, watch that video. Today I'm actually running errands. But before I get to those errands, let's check in with a real-world 0 to 60 test. I've got my race box set up here to record. I'm in the sport drive mode. I'm gonna hit the launch control button, hold my foot on the brake, pin the throttle, build up revs and boost, let it go. Ooh, there's some G-force. And get to 60 in 4.65 seconds. Ram-a-lam-a ding-dong, that's quick. Whee! All right then, quick out of the hole. What about mid-range passing power on the highway? Let's find out from 60. Hey, yo. And the fuel light kicks on once more. Yeah, okay, so you don't really have to wait very long for the inline six to deliver its punch. I just wish there was the wonderful soundtrack to accompany that, because there is definitely the momentum. And now that I have achieved the lane of my choosing here, let me kick it into the auto drive mode, and I'm going to quiet up and listen to the cabin volume at highway speeds. I did have two different road surfaces there. We started on a louder concrete surface and there was much more tire noise. Now on smoother tarmac, you still get a lot of wind noise, not as much tire hum, and I didn't hear that truck as I passed by it at all. It is gonna be louder than something more aerodynamic, but it's within reason. And if you were going to commute in this truck, you'd be interested in some of the driving assistance features, which we do have equipped here, including adaptive cruise control and steering assistance. It is now in the highway hands-free driving mode as well. I see those indicators in green on the side. That means hands are off the wheel, and as long as I'm paying attention, it's not going to require engagement with that wheel. This is working just fine. And it would definitely reduce some of the fatigue of a longer or traffic-heavy commute. Though, unlike GM's Super Cruise system, just as a comparison, which will change lanes to the left if that lane is open and the speed you've set is higher than the speed you're traveling, this system does not do that. So you do have to tell it to change lanes to move around slower traffic. And though I can bear the sound of wind noise, I want to listen to something else, and there is a Harman Kardon sound system equipped to this truck with that level 1 package, so let's listen to it via the wireless Apple CarPlay. I'm going to pull that up. It's pretty responsive now. Turn up the volume here via the physical dial. Looks to be about 50. Let's go a bit further. Maybe 60, 65% there. That's quite good. First off, the bass has all of the punch I was looking for. It was vibrating my chest in a pleasing way. The range is solid. I did actually, before the bass checked in, I could hear some vibration frequency. I don't know if that's the sound system, if it's the speaker covers, what, but before bass is hitting, if it's vibrating, that's not a great sign. Still, the mids and highs were well defined. It's a solid system for not a lot of money, especially when bundled as part of that one package. And yes, importantly, it did block out all the outside noise. I have arrived at my first errand. I've got to return this rental racket here to Irvine Tennis. Now for errand number 2. I'm picking up my bike here at the Path Bike Shop. Man, I haven't seen my bike this clean in too long. They did a great job with the tune-up. They gave it a nice wash, and they replaced the spoke of the back wheel, which had broken. Now, normally I'd put the bike in the bed, throw the front tire over the top of the tailgate, but in this case, this truck is so big, I think it's gonna fit inside the cab if I just lift up both seat bottoms and maneuver it in. Like a glove. It fits. And my final errand is to put some fuel back in this 33-gallon tank. The EPA rates the RHO at 14 mpg in the city, 16 on the highway, and 15 combined. If I saw 15, then I'd have a fuel range of just under 500 miles. Unfortunately, over the last 305 miles, I've been averaging just under 12 miles per gallon. And I know that doesn't sound like much of an improvement over the TRX, but the last time I drove that truck, I think I averaged 9 miles per gallon. And at current fuel prices of $5.15 for the required 91 octane gas, it's gonna cost me $170 to fill this tank, but there's capless fueling to save me time. Well, crew, at the beginning of this video, I pondered if the 6-cylinder RHO would be nicer to live with than the V8 TRX. And after quality time spent behind the wheel, I can point to a few circumstances that would favor the more modest RHO. Softer startups and calmer cruises around town will earn brownie points with your neighbors and will lead to fewer encounters with the 5.0. Despite being down 162 horses to the TRX, the RHO feels just as quick around town and when passing on the highway, but with much more tolerable fuel economy. And let's not forget the price. Saving 16 grand versus a comparably equipped TRX leaves more room in the budget for projects for the kids or dining out with the wife. The rest of the RHO experience is just like the TRX. It's big and brash and bold and spacious. It has plenty of amenities. The seats are comfortable. It still rides a little choppily. This really can be a family vehicle, but whoever drives it will need to budget a bit of extra time to park it perfectly. I hope you guys have enjoyed this day in the life, and I will see you again next time